Hey guys, how's it going? October 29th, 2022. Back online, and another Saturday night. Seems to be a regular thing going on, so keep the momentum going. Oops, I don't know what the hell that is. Um, so, last Saturday, uh, it's kind of weird. Well, there's only really, as far as developments or anything this week in particular, or changes that I've made, was just oh, wow, Scott, you made it. That worked out better. So the only, real change, I did make a change during the week. Well, I shouldn't say real change. I'll go over the philosophical changes and some of the updates as far as preparation files and all that other stuff. Where I'm going, what I've seen as far as establishing the files, establishing how I'm going to do things, the approach, all that other stuff. And I've already started. But I'm going to continue tonight right here live with you guys. And you'll see some of the very first code, actually, that I plan on starting tonight with you. It hopefully won't be too boring. Actually, well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't want to put you to sleep. That's what happens with coding. I usually put my son to sleep, so. But we got to get to the good stuff, anyways. So first and foremost, as I said, there was a slight change that I made, and that was the live stream that I did last Saturday. I decided to remove. It was part of a decision that I made. Basically, had to do with the live stream, and it had to do with the group that I was talking about. No issues with them. I think great bunch of guys. But I decided for what I plan on doing, it's a conflict of interest. And I noticed what, a few things that has happened in the past, and I also was hearing different things, and I wanted to make sure that I've basically covered my ass and protected myself. So it wasn't anything personal, it wasn't anything that was said, it wasn't anything whatever. It's just a decision that I made, and I figured it was the right decision. I'm not really, like, as far as, modifications, enhancements, or whatever, I'm not really into that anyways. In fact, I'll be looking, and it ties in to some of the things that was already on my mind at that moment, that I was formulating, and I'm going to announce here tonight. I've already announced them. I haven't received much of a headway on it. I'm hoping the live stream tonight helps. If it doesn't, it's okay, because I have a plan B. And I'm proceeding with the plan B. Actually, I don't know if they call it a plan B or a plan A or whatever the hell you want to call it. But I'm proceeding ahead regardless of whatever the hell's happening down the road. So, with that said, there's two main routes that I'm looking to take. I've realized that, I'm put it this way. As far as what's coming up, I know what's coming up, and I know what I'm going to be purchasing regardless of any plans that I make. And I've already said this for some time now, and I'm sticking to it, and that is a railroader. That is a definite buy for me. Like when I look at what's going on there, and I'll show you here real quick. Whoops. But I don't even know if I'll get that screenshot on there or not, but without killing my own stream by doing so. But it says it's excellent, so that's always good. But well, it's a different one. So I mean, it's very oriented with steam trains, which I really don't. I'm not too fond of personally. That's not what I'm into, or not what I'm basically looking at. But the overall operation aspect is what interests me. Now, there are diesel engines. I got a funny feeling. Now, this is the transition area. I got a funny feeling those diesel engines I may have to work up to, or I may have to. I might have to. What is it? I want to say drill, or I can't get the word in my head. What's the word for wording? Or not wording. What's the word for wording? That makes a hell of a lot of sense. Work hard at it. I guess there's a term, and I say it all the time, and I cannot for the life of me think of it. But anyways, I'll have to work towards it. Let's just say that. It's on the tip of my tongue, but then when I got so many other things on my mind, it's just kind of like, okay, well, yeah, it's there, but whatever. But anyways, who cares? It's not that important. Oh, that's always great, trying to talk while you're drinking. Doesn't work too well. Yeah, well. But, yeah, so you work hard towards it, you might get it. Who knows? I'm not worried about it. I can start out with steam trains and run it for some time. The operation is interesting. But like I've said from the beginning, not so much from the beginning, but the more I thought about this, it's a sure buy regardless. There's nothing about this. I'd buy it today. I would have bought it last month. I will buy it next year. Whatever. It's a sure buy for me. So there's no doubt about it. So this could be the first train simulator that I get my hands into, other than possibly something happening with Run 8 between that release and then. I don't know what's happening next with Run 8, or the timing. It's always, it'll be ready when it's ready type thing. I know there was talk about an update number 5. Although I do like some of the ideas of what update 5 that are coming, including, I think, some ideas that Scott was having, maybe myself, I'm not sure, I can't remember. I'm not ready yet. I'll enjoy those later on, I think, is what I'm looking at. And it's hard to say after that what's going to happen as far as I've said before, I don't know what's going to happen. Wow, it's quiet in here tonight. 2 viewers. That's interesting. But yeah, things are pretty quiet on the channel as well. As far as the Discord, other Discord, Train Sim, it is gone like totally quiet. And I don't dare speak about anything, because as soon as I do that, the hounds will be all over me. So I'm not even going to go there. My attitude, though, has to change as far as getting rid of the negativity, and just letting go of letting go or avoiding the conflicts, letting go of the things that could lead to, I love, and don't get me wrong, I love standing up for what I believe in, and that's fine. And I can stand up to believe in, and fight on a molehill or whatever. Hey Bob, how's it going? I can do that, for a very long time. But when it comes to the bigger picture, which the bigger picture is RTS, and where things, I believe, are hoping that they're going to go. And if they don't go exactly the way I want, that's fine too. Hey, Christopher. So, if they don't go the way I want, that's okay too. It's not the end of the world. But what I'm hoping to get out of that, let me just open this up here. There's been no code. Absolutely no code. In fact, this is the first time that I may be coding anything in the version 2 tonight. But we will see. Just going to start to get some of these things open here, what I'm looking at. So, yeah, let me finish this thought first before I just didn't want the screen to go totally. Let me just basically sum everything up. It's going to take a little bit, and then I'm going to get right into it tonight. So, a couple things. I announced earlier this week, with absolutely no replies, no interest, nothing really, other than Scott's kind of talked to me back and forth about a few things, and we've talked back and forth on a few different things too. But I'm looking for people who are, like serious, long run, long term, that is looking to partner up with myself. Basically the same formula that Run 8 does, quite frankly, as far as the structure of a business. And that is, I'm looking to manage a business. I'm looking to be the, basically the founder of RTS, which I am, and I've had this for the reason why I've stuck with everything RTS and never gotten away from it is branding. I've used it a lot with like even some of the forums or discords or whatever that I was on. Somebody noticed me right away, called me Mr. RTS right away. So RTS and my name and everything associated with the channel and whatever has its own branding to it. There's a reason for that. And there's a reason why I try to keep that branding in there, is because I do have a potential plan that at some point I wanted to get to. I've always wanted to do it by myself. But what's difficult for me is keeping up the intensity, or really getting into it, or getting to a point where it's much easier for me to open up a Run 8 and just figure out ways to get what I want by using a Run 8 and finding ways to do that, or do what I could in trains for a while, do what I could in other programs. It was much easier. It's much easier being a user and being someone who's consuming a product and being able to meet or exceed. I shouldn't say exceed, because exceed's not the word, because maybe exceed in certain points, but not really getting all those goals, getting all those things that you want. There's always more for me. So while I can look at a company like Run 8, who meets or exceeds my expectations for the most part, I shouldn't say that. They meet or exceed my expectations as far as what I think they're bringing are coming up. So the next update, or the next version, like when version 3 came out, I wasn't expecting it. It came, there it was. Immediately that exceeded my expectations because I wasn't expecting it. What came with version 3, such as the AI, wasn't expecting it. So again, they often will exceed my expectations as far as what I'm expecting comes. As far as not my expectations, I guess so, they do. As far as expectations, as far as what I want, they cover, I would say, I think they easily cover 80%, for sure. And everybody has this bucket list of things that they would love to see. But so does everybody, like I said, everybody has it. So everybody's bucket list is different, and nobody's, I don't think, is going to be precisely the same. At least somebody who's as detailed as myself or others who really who do more than just casually play something. Just give me a minute, guys. I'm already dry throat because I'm talking, and that's just the way it is. I started with a drink. I literally gotta start getting a pitcher when I start these things. Like, I got one, but other than spilling it all over me. 1 second. So yeah, exceeding my expectations as far as what I expect out of them, but not exceeding my overall desires of what I want or what I would dream of. And eventually, when you grow tired of it, you move on to other things, or you try to, like I've done in Run 8 for so many years, try to fit it or try to build certain applications. I've done code. Recently, I did code. I actually released a code not about a week or so ago. The RTS Yardmaster code was released. I haven't heard too much feedback about it. I did hear originally feedback that some people or at least one person was having an issue with it, trying to get it to work, but then I didn't hear any more about it. So I assume either it works for them or they gave up on it. I don't know. I haven't heard anybody successfully talk about it working, and then I heard that I think it was Dale that had mentioned. Dale was saying something about that. One of the other servers, I can't think of the name. Whatever, one of the bigger ones was actually, I think, Highball. That they had a program that basically did the same thing. Well, I don't know if it does the same thing. I don't even know exactly, but the way Dale explained it to me was doing exactly what I released, and I told him that. I said, yeah. I says, I just released something that did that. because I talked all about it, and I tried to mention it on Train Sim, but whisper in the wind, basically. So, but and then don't, like I said before, don't dare talk about dreams or plans or anything like that, because oof, keep that to your own channel. And that's unfortunate, because you guys are here because you've either seen content or whatever, and blah blah blah, or you're curious what I'm going to do next, or you like the conversation. I don't know. But so anyways, that's that. Hey, how's it going? So that's as far as expectations and everything like that. I think I've been clear there. So in order to try to meet those goals, so I have two ways of doing it. Number one, I just let it go, and I enjoy whatever, or try to find whatever that distracts me, or whatever that tries to amuse me, and enjoy my time off. I actually do work, full-time job, so enjoy the time off, enjoy the time with my son, enjoy whatever, and just go with that. And it's very easy to do that. It doesn't take much to do that. It doesn't take too much thought to do that. So if I go ahead and do that, then that's great. But it doesn't accomplish what I want. It doesn't get me any closer. And I'm leaving it up to others to fill those dreams. So when you have those dreams, the only way you're going to get them is either by doing it yourself, or sharing your idea and seeing if others will go with you on that. So I have two versions of RTS, two pathways. One of them is already being established, and both of them are going out to do the same thing. And that is, as far as the business plan of what railroad RTS, or Railroad Transportation Simulator, is moving forward. And it's I've given this a lot of thought. I think I've kind of pushed myself there to a point where I don't even have to write it down. It's like, it's engraved in my mind. I think about it all the time. I think about it every day. It's a passion for me. That is the highest passion that I have right now. Run A used to be a very high passion for me at one time. But this is the one that drives me the most right now, because for Run 8, the distraction's not high enough for me, and that's probably a blessing in disguise, because and Run 8's great, don't get me wrong. I don't want, I'm hopefully going to be able to continue to find things like Run 8 or Railroader and all this other stuff. I was thinking about Railroader early on. We're still a long ways. Who knows? Is it going to be January 1st? Is it going to be second quarter? I don't know when in 2023 it's coming out. So what do? You go back and you settle for Run 8 and just do, because people want to see content, and people want to see content, and there are certain things you can do. But do you do something that is not exactly what you were hoping to achieve? Or do you admit that this isn't working the way you expected, and then reassess the way you want to do things? And I don't mind admitting that something's not working, or admitting that whether or not it's failure. I don't like to use the term failure, because I don't think failure is it. Some people might want to put that label towards me, or overachiever, or whatever they want to put. But I have achieved a lot of things. I've achieved, like having that first 24/7 server. Where was 24/7 servers going to come anyways? Probably, but the term 24/7 actually was first uttered by me. That was the term I used, and it's kind of stuck. I'm not saying I own the copyright or anything to the term. I mean, 24/7 is a term that's been used for years for various things. 24/7 drive-throughs, 24/7, restaurants, gas stations, you name it. So, but I thought it fit when Run 8 first, or when it was first a group established that they were going to use an anarchy server. I never thought of it back then because I was like, anarchy. And but then I started thinking about it a little bit, and I thought, well, yeah, if you just set the rules ahead of time and password protect and let have people, you put the rules out there, and then you hopefully allow them to do things on their own without managing it. Then I thought, well, because it was kind of like a doggy dog back and forth. Now, mind you, I was not really. I had my cult following, or not so much my cult following. I had a pretty good following, being one of the first servers out there. So I still had a lot of people, and I still had an active server. So I was trying to compete with the bigger server and other servers to try to persuade or get people to see my idea of doing it, and seeing if that worked for them. In the end, it probably didn't. They wanted more to when you have a server that's out there, and I'm going all over the place here, but anyways, let me finish this thought. When you have a server that's out there that meets everybody's needs, or tries to do everything for everyone, of course you're going to get more people. That's fine. And a lot of software, I think, tries to please everybody as well. I think Run 8 is one of the exceptions out there to the rule, because they don't try to please everybody. They don't have the editors. They don't have they don't have all the shiny graphics. They've always been about multiplayer, and they've always been about establishing their goals. And they've done well in establishing their goals. And they've also taken advice and ideas, including some from myself and others, and many, many others. And they're not going to take every idea. I've had plenty of ideas that just has never seen the light of day. Ideas, some of them might be even easy, just because I think it's easy. That's not my baby, it's theirs. They're the ones at the end of the day have to decide, does it fit their vision? Does it fit what they want? And they could have a totally different vision than what I see it going. After all, it's their project, it's their baby, and they have to steer the ship. They have to make that decision. They have to be happy with what they're producing. So I understand that. And whether I would like to be, like, say, for example, I would love them to be more, I would love to know more about the projects they're working on. Less secrecy, more details as far as what they're up to. Give a little bit of buzz, tell them what they're doing. I'm totally different in that respect, because I'm like, yeah, I want you. I don't mind. I don't mind telling you what I'm working on, and then having to say, well, that didn't work out. I don't mind. I don't mind missing goals or failing to achieve something. So that's okay. So anyways, I don't know how I got on that little tangent, but let me just get to the main crux of the matter here before, man, it's already a half an hour, and I thought maybe this was going to be a little bit quicker to get to than I expected. But there's two directions I'm going. One of them is basically the 2D way, and the other one is the 3D way. They all have the same goals. And it is going to be Railroad Transportation Simulator. I don't know if there's going to have any other name to it. Originally, I had a software that was, I've had Railroad Transportation Simulator Yardmaster. Again, there's a branding to it. I've had Railroad Transportation Simulator Beta. I have kind of used the RTS name and then kind of changed the wording around, like for certain servers or whatever. I would start calling it Railroad Transportation Systems and other things like that, just to keep that RTS branding, and then change the name a little bit and see how it, and basically try to achieve the same goals, or look towards achieving some, if not, not every goal, but meet a lot of those goals and try to settle for it. And like I said, there's software that's coming out. I plan on doing that same thing with that software and trying those things out and seeing how much it satisfies me. However, what really is what I'm looking at doing is establishing a team. I know what my strengths and weaknesses are. Let's start with the weaknesses. Well, I can go right ahead and start with the weaknesses, get them out of the way. The weaknesses are I cannot do graphics. And as far as being able to do 3D art, I've looked at different things. I am not good at it. I have a hard time picking it up. I have a hard time learning it. The other one is programming. That's a tough pill to swallow, because I've always considered myself a programmer. And yes, I've always programmed, but programming has evolved big time. We got more powerful machines, we got different languages that do more powerful stuff, and I've never really been into quote-unquote game programming. I can do applications, and I've done business applications. I've done entire business systems, programming-wise. But actually getting in there in something that's more than just data manipulation, and logic and all that, and actually getting into something that involves working with 3D game engines and all that other stuff. I've played around with the various ones like Unity. I was playing around with that for a little bit. I was, biting my nails trying to cope with different languages. I was looking at different languages more recently. So if you followed me long enough, you would know the process. I've gone through the different languages. I've been going through different ways of trying to achieve my goals, and I'm coming up with obstacle upon obstacle. One that will still work is the 2D way of doing things, because the logic and the file manipulation is something that I can deal with. When I saw the XML of, and I can show it to you right now. Actually, no, I won't do that. I'll show it to you shortly. Let's go with the main thing, though. I need somebody, or actually two others. The somebody would, if it's only one person, if it's only one person that's looking to share my goals, that person's got to be good at two things. They would have 2/3 of the share. In other words, the way I'm looking as far as a business plan is as follows. I'm looking right at what Run 8 does, because to me it works well. Run 8 has a business manager, Brad. John's programmer. I can't think of the artist's name. That's just escaping me right now. He's not as active on the forums, I don't think, but in fact, I don't recall him being on the forums. Can't think of his name for some reason. But anyways, if I saw the site, I'd go to the site, but I'm not going to. Hey, Jeffrey. So the way they do that, I think is a great. Process. Now, I'm not too worried about experience necessary. I'm more, and I'm not worried about quality or what they can. I mean, yes, I'd love to know what they can do, what they're capable of doing, what they bring to the project. What's important, or the biggest thing, is, do they share the same goals as I do? Now, I don't expect anybody to have the exact same goals as I do. Forget it. You're not going to find somebody who's going to have those exact same goals. But if you find the right persons, they're going to have a lot of those goals. And it's difficult, especially because, like, say for example, and I use Run 8 as a comparison, because Run 8 to me is, and don't get me wrong, I'm not looking to make a better train simulator, quote unquote, than Run 8. Run 8 is the best train simulator out there, in my opinion. I don't expect, nor do I want, to beat Run 8. If I end up doing it, if the project somehow exceeds my expectations, or we're able to catch up, which I don't think we will, because they got over 10 years of experience. Not only that, but then you take all their 3D, their ability to do 3D assets and everything. I'm not looking to, number one, I'm not looking to take their market share necessarily, or any of those factors. Am I going to compete? Yes, but I'm not even on the table yet, because number one, I've never made a cent off of anything I've done. So no, I'm not even in the game yet as far as any type of competition. And what I'm looking to be as far as RTS, the RTS for me, number one, yes, I want a 3D game. I want the best graphics possible, or at least graphics that are more up to date and current with today's game engines. So we're talking Unity, Unreal. Preferably Unreal. I'll take Unity, and possibly other game engines, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to, I guess that means I'm looking for a C# programmer. Though other languages I believe can work with them. Somebody who has experience programming, or finding ways of programming some things that works with those, is certainly ideal. That would be great. As far as the 3D side goes, as far as the 3D development, or the 3D graphics end of things. So we're talking someone who can create assets and create scenery. I'm looking for somebody who knows how to build basically 3D structures, 3D rolling stock engines, you name it. who's able to take and have the best of those, and be able to have the the shading, and it doesn't have to be, they don't have to be perfect right away. They could be still learning, or whatever, and they could be growing with it. That's fine too, because then that means, okay, so they're still learning, or they're still trying to achieve things, but the more they get to practice and the more they get to try different things, then the more they get to do things. Plus, they also have a team. So they have a programmer and myself who can look at things and try to see if they can do this or see if they can do that. And if they can't, that's okay. We can only do as good as we're capable of doing. I would rather have a team. I mean, yeah, sure. You want a team. You want a team that, if you use a sports analogy, sure, you want a team that's going to be the best and has the highest quality athletes on their team and team players and all this other stuff. The most important aspect of this team is not what the quality or what experience they bring to the table. It's, do you have the same overall vision? So what is that vision? What is RTS's vision? What a lot of people ask, what is RTS? Let me see here. I'm just reading some comments here. Unreal would definitely provide better graphical capabilities, but without optimized code, the performance would be slow. Yep. Really just depends on what your own capabilities are and what you're going for. Yeah. So as far as my capabilities, as I said, I've already looked into both Unreal and Unity. I don't have the capabilities on the programming end, nor do I have the capabilities on the asset end to bring them in. So this is why I'm looking for a team. This is where I've come to the point over the past week or so. Primarily in this past week, actually, no, it's been a little bit more. It's been about a week, but I think it's been something that I've been considering for some time, and it wasn't until very recently that I decided, yeah, this is where I have to get serious. If I ever want to see this happen in my lifetime, I'm 50 years old now. I'm relatively healthy. I plan to live to be 100. I've got plenty of time to manage a project and to see it through. What I bring to the table is the vision, the design, and as far as what it is that we're looking for, or what it is I'm looking for, as far as the goals for RTS, is what are you looking for? Basically, I think the big question is, what is RTS going to be that's different than anything else out there? So what does the competition have? And I use the term competition because you're competing for, yes, you're competing for market share, but you're competing for eyes. A lot of people settle for certain programs, like myself included. And a lot of people are happy to settle, and it's satisfying enough. You're not going to get everything you want in any given program anyways, unless you do it yourself. And then even doing it yourself, I can't bring all those things to the table, so I have to settle on a team's capabilities. So I may not have, or not only just the team's capabilities, but what the team wants. There has to be compromise. You can't just go in there and say, well, this is the way it's going to be, and I don't have room to compromise. But then they have their own ideas, and they want to see their dreams. So the team is, as far as where I base it on, is very similar to what Run 8 does. Run 8 has 3 owners. I like that approach. I think it's a great I think it's a great structure, because those compromise of the three structures that you're looking for, or that at least I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who has an overall design plan, who can get in there, work with the data, be able to work with root building, work with whatever tools that are in there, or that are capable of just getting into the nitty gritty, the data management, definitely the design. Since I have a vision, I can design it. I can do the flow charts. I can do however it is that I have to describe it to a programmer, what I'm looking for. I can design it, and I can I can go through all that design. Recently I was thinking about doing that and going through all the different flowcharts. I was trying to find my flowchart template. I was gonna do one. I was trying to find a one that would go through it. I have these things locked up in my brain. As much as my memory or brain damage, I guess it is, as far as that affects my memory, or from concussions as I was young, and controlled seizures, I guess you call them, because or I'm controlled by medication, I should say. So I mean everything. I say, when I say I'm healthy, yeah, I'm healthy, but yeah, I do have medication. Is it life threatening? No, none of this is life threatening, really. I plan to live a long and fruitful life, hopefully. But so what is it that I'm looking for? What's different? So let me just go through the various, and I've done this, and I've actually gone through. If you've noticed, if you follow me enough, you'll know that I've already been doing this. I started doing it on TrainSim. I tried doing it in a form that kind of went all to hell, and I mean, most of the topics that I start over there go to hell, and then it goes silent. It's just like I try to start the conversation, and then something's taken out of context, and then they start talking about shit that doesn't mean anything, and most topics get derailed. It's absolutely ridiculous, and then it's not. I don't want to get negative. I've been trying to stay away from the negativity, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, because it does me no good. But anyways, the conversations that I've had or I've tried to establish are simple. I go through the various train simulators that are out there. The first one I go to is Run 8. What does Run 8 bring to the table that I like? It's got multiplayer. It's got AI dispatching. It's got AI humping. Its graphics are not the most highest quality, but that actually is not a. I don't worry about that as much. It's not a big deal to me. I would be very happy to have a simulator with similar graphics, if that's all we can get out of it. So again, the skill of somebody who brings what to the table, I would be very happy with Run 8 style graphics, despite certain people's criticism of Run 8 graphics. I'm fine with it, because that's fine with me. Run 8 has never, its graphics has never disappointed me. But I do know that when I look at a railroad, or I look at some of the ones, if I look at Train Sim World, for example, but I'll get into all that anyways. But I wanted to say Run 8 for one, as far as their positives and what they have that's able to bring it. So they're very good at multiplayer. Bringing it, they got the best multiplayer engine. They got the best save engine out there. World saves are awesome, perfect sandbox. They're able to achieve a lot out of having their basic. I mean, if anything's a train sim world, Run 8 is, and they kind of they kind of joked on that, I think, on their website. Something about bringing the train sim world to Run 8 or something like that at one time. I thought that was kind of funny because, I mean, they really try to, to be able to expand routes and to be able to have it all connect and all that other stuff. What they've always, I think one of the issues they get into is a resource issue when they try to connect too much. And I think they get out. They had this more in version 2. I think they've overcome that quite a bit, but they'll hit that limit again. And I can anticipate at some point I would hit that limit as well with RTS. But I also have ideas that hopefully I can get around it, or at least find ways of getting around it. But anyways, that's much more detailed. I won't even bother getting into. There's certainly stuff more to talk to programmer and graphics and having that discussion. Those that are have the more expertise in it and seeing if the overall vision fits. So that's Run 8. It's the strengths. The weakness I find with Run 8, you could say graphics, but I don't consider it much of a weakness. I guess it is, if you consider it to the top of the line train simulators that are out there. Oh, sorry, I forgot about the big one of the bigger strengths is the physics. That I almost totally forgot that. I probably missed others. It's okay. Physics, believe it or not, is not that important to me. It certainly makes it much more fun. But having not being, I remember the first time, and this is way back at the beginning of, we're talking of the beta of Run 8 when I was on the beta team. I remember first trying to get a handle of a train going down a hill and having a runaway, and Dale was trying to teach me. I'm just flying into. It's just like I don't know how to set the brakes. I don't know how to do any. I didn't have a rail driver at the time. Of course, I have all that now, so I'm much more familiar with setting a proper brake and having the dynamics going and all that other stuff. But back in the time, with say like a Microsoft Train Sim, you didn't have to worry about that stuff. So, but that's a straight. So the physics are another big quality for that. The weaknesses, I think, there's not too many, believe it or not, as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, you can talk about the graphics if you want. Lack of an editor, that's a weakness, and I'll get to the RTS side of things because really we're not. It's not a big deal for me, as much as it has. It has the editing ability of being able to edit the to edit the files, as far as, or not the files, but even the AI a little bit, and the industries. You can certainly edit those. You can edit the trains that get spawned in. So there's a lot of flexibility there. But as far as editing actual content or being able to go in, you can't. I mean, yes, you can play around on the files, although with libraries and all that other crap. But it's not designed to do that. It's designed to basically use the libraries it gives you and the files that it gives you. There's nothing built into the program that is there to allow you to edit worlds or anything like that, nor is it supported. Most of it is blocked off. Um, well, I don't know what that I wasn't talking about because I don't know. Uh, I don't even know what that topic was. But anyways, the so yeah, the that's a big thing for most people. For me, it's not a big deal. I understand that. It's more of a big deal for other programs, and I'll get into that. But for Run 8, it's not a big deal. Uh, what is a big deal that could solve that issue is being able to get new content out there. They've been around for 10 years. A lot of it has been built up trying to get, is from my perspective as a user, I would say, and this isn't anything inside baseball or whatever. Yes, for the record, guys, if you haven't heard already, I have a non-disclosure agreement. I get reminded of that every now and then, but I don't know anything. So basically, my experience with Run 8 goes back to the beta team and a little bit of version 1. That's it. That's all I know. Other than maybe discussions that have taken place since then. But, and that's all I can say. So, that's all it is. And if going into that, I really don't have an inside idea as to what they spend most of their time on, but I can give you an idea, or at least I can give you what I think they've been doing. And a lot of it has been the code. A lot of it has been trying to get, dealing with the resources version 2, they came into a wall. And as far as I could tell, there's certain things that are quote-unquote denied and various versions, whatever. I don't care. This is just, like I said, we don't know. But whatever it is, it seems like they have spent a lot of time on getting version 3 the way it is now. Honestly, version 3 is really good. There's nothing about the lack of version 3. It runs exactly the way it should from my perspective. I don't see these issues. I don't see the issues that I was seeing that were starting to come up in version 2. I don't see a program struggling. I see it as, and I mean, there's tiny little minor bugs. I mean, there's this, somebody, I heard somebody like within the week or whatever was talking about the blob and making a big deal about it. And I was like, I don't give a rat's ass about a little blob, an artifact that comes across the screen or whatever. It's just like, okay, it has something to the sun, the moon, whatever, but whatever. I don't care. It is what that is. That doesn't bother me. Totally minor. It doesn't affect my gameplay whatsoever. It's just like, okay, it's there. It's a little minor thing, no biggie. I know shaking of a lot of people were talking about the shaking of the cabs so much. It didn't really affect me or bother me too much, or maybe I didn't even notice it. Maybe some people had the seasick multiplier up too high. I don't know what it was. Didn't bother me any. Didn't really notice it. I mean, I'd see this little twitch now and then, but other than that, no. Nothing about version 3 has bothered me. It has run at or exceeding my expectations. Bottom line. What their weaknesses are is, as far as single player goes, they've made strides at it. They've gotten better. The fact that they have an AI, version 3 has an AI dispatcher and an AI hump. Those things I thought were going to be enough to get me to where I thought I needed to be. In the current regions, they're not. They didn't quite get me to where I wanted it to really want to be. And where I really want it to be is to be able to run in real time. Not 24/7 necessarily, but anytime that I say I want to go on, I would want to be able to continue where I left off and actually be able to accomplish all the tasks either on my own or with a very, very small group. Minimal, and ideally by myself. I mean, to the point where there's going to be lull time. I wanted it that good. It's hard to do that when you have regions that are focused on transcons, because their transcons are going to be the busiest routes out there. So, a lot of people have talked about, well, you can run only specific routes and all that. Well, that's fine for some people, and it might work for a small group and a bunch of dedicated people. But let's say you have California and you have so many routes that you own, and you're looking for a server to participate in, and you read the server rules and all that other stuff, and it's just like, oh yeah, this place is kind of cool, and then you see what they actually host, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I have this region and I can't run it here, but even though they're in the Southwest, I can't run on Cajon, or I can't run of all of Cajon, or I can only run part of Cajon, or I can only do Mojave. When there's all these other regions, I can't run Bakersfield, I can't run Seligman. All those other things start coming up. So I went from Southwest. I made a switch over to the Northeast, because Northeast is not as big of a region as the Southwest. So I kind of went over that way, and I liked it. And I love the hump yard in Waycross, so right away I was just like, yeah, let me try this for a little while. Sorry, not the Northeast, the Southeast. And I tried that. Northeast I've tried before as well. The Northeast is also limited as far as size. It has 2 routes similar to the Southeast. Now the Southeast is expanding to a 3rd route. Fitzgerald Sub is in the works. We know that's the one route we know is in works officially. It's been announced. We know it's in the works. When it comes, it'll be ready when it's ready, just like everything else with Run 8. That's just the way they go. You take it or leave it. So, and I understand it. Everybody's got lives, and their lives change, and stuff comes up or whatever. But there's not a region. And now, oh yeah, they had the latest region. Latest region is in Northern California. Even with one route, it's still busy enough. A little too busy for my liking. Plus, it's double track, even though it separates itself into single track sections and all other stuff. And I know I'm talking about Run 8, but I really want to get off of Run 8. But the reason why Run 8 has the most experience for me, so I focus on that first, because there's a reason why I was with Run 8 for so long, or did Run 8 for so long, and will do Run 8 in the future. I honestly don't think that's the last time I've run Run 8. Because I think Run 8 is great. Run 8's the best out of all of them. And there's nothing out there that beats it. We'll see what Railroader's got. I've done Railroads Online. I've done all kinds of different things. I'll get to some of the smaller stuff in a minute. But I don't focus on the bigger stuff. So not having the small regions actually takes away from the ability of you as a single player being able to not only capable of running in real time and getting the tasks done, say a switching district that has you know, maybe one subdivision or a connection of a few subdivisions or partial subdivisions. Most switching districts have partial subdivisions, not all, but I'll use Niagara for an example. Yeah, and I'm going to say not a lot about Niagara, and I'll get to that very shortly, because there's another thing that's going to be probably a big factor in what RTS is doing. I will get to RTS, bear with me. This all leads to it. So, back to the switching districts though. Niagara, for example. My home. We've got 30-mile Grimsby subdivision. We've got about 30 miles Stanford subdivision. That's CN. CP has about 20, almost 30 miles, let's say. It joins into CN, but it's only for the last 9 or 10 miles or whatever the hell it is towards Fort Erie to Buffalo, New York. So let's say 20 miles. So Canadian Pacific has 20 miles. There's also 2 branches with CP as well. All of it is single track railroad. Grimsby sub was the closest to being, at one time used to be a double track main line, but they took out the double track in various sections to add CTC, as opposed to the old OCS, which is like a track warrant system in Canada / ABS signaling system. They did that back in 2000, I think. Somewhere around the turn of the century. I remember it quite clearly. I remember after the turn. I don't remember, before that. I don't the memories. I have certain memories, but not as vivid. After that change took place, but so I would much rather deal with a switching district out of, say, a Port Robinson that actually deals with it would deal with 20. I shouldn't say it would deal with. Really, it would only deal with a few miles of the Grimsby sub, because there's really no other industries in Niagara on the Grimsby sub anymore that's serviced. There's also a short line too that runs 20 miles north-south from Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, on former CN lines, and I would much rather deal with, that is 3 switching districts. So you've got a short line operation, which, you got your short line operation. You got CN and CP. CN, you could get all of the stuff within 24 hours. CP, or CN plus CP plus the short line, you can get all of it within 24 hours. Most of it runs, a lot of it runs, switching operations run mostly during the day. Mainline operations runs day or night, depending on the different lines. They're all 24/7, but whatever. The bottom line is the work of the various industries, which is about, I would say there's about, in Niagara, there's about, let's see here, I'm just roughly saying that there's probably about 20 industries in Niagara. Only one major industry, 2 or 3 medium-sized industries, and the rest are small. So there's nothing huge, really. And about 20 industries. So there's that there. Again, all of that can be done within 24 hours. That to me, and it can certainly, now I mean 24 hours of switching. That's just switching alone. As far as running the mainline trains, what's good about that is if you have more people, then you get to run mainline trains as well. You get to run, the passenger operation, or the commuter operation that runs weekdays, and there's even more services on weekends. So you got all that. So that to me is something that I look at. I look at Niagara as a perfect example of what I would. I don't like that no data that pops up every now and then. It's to me the perfect example of what I'm looking for. And I'm not looking for Niagara specifically, but just something like that would be a great region for Run 8 if that was to come out. But they're into the bigger regions, and they're into regions also that a lot of times that they can expand upon, because one of the strengths of Run 8 is to be able to connect regions, to be able to connect routes, I should say, into and to form what starts as a small region and expands to become bigger and bigger. That is a very good business model, because it encourages DLC. And considering there's no editors, they have the control over that. They're the ones that will bring in the money. They don't have to share it. They don't have to compete for those DLC dollars. They're the only ones. They're the only player. And from a business standpoint, I like the business plan of Run 8, and it works well for them. I would just like to see personally better regions, so that single players can do more. And I think single players, it's not really a big deal, because most people who do single players just do whatever with the AI. I would say 90% of the people. This is, again, something that I'm specifically looking for, which makes it difficult, because I know I'm in the minority, but I'm going to keep talking about it because that's what the RTS is based on. RTS is based on switching and being able to do operations, which Run 8 is capable of doing, but it just doesn't quite get there to that level. But anyways, that's Run 8. The other one that's looked at is Train Sim World. Train Sim World is what I commonly prefer to as hot garbage. It's great to look at. It gets you excited, but it's basically like a really hot looking chick who's dumb as nails. And I mean, I don't want to offend people who like Train Sim World. That's what Train Sim World is to me. A hot looking chick that is dumb as nails. So just because they get you excited, and just because you feel alive and you feel like, oh my god, this thing is awesome, well, wait till you get to know it. then you'll really realize what it can do. And Run 8 may not be the hot looking chick, but Run 8 is very, very intelligent in comparison. So Run 8 is kind of like I wouldn't call Run 8 a geek, or Run 8, the ugly chick who's got brains, and who's the brain who doesn't care, who's doesn't worry about makeup or anything. I don't know. I'm using that perspective just to give you an idea. So what has Train Sim World got? Yeah, it's got great graphics. It uses the latest game engines. It produces a ton of DLC. It not only does it produce DLC, it produces new versions that really don't change much. I honestly, between version 1, 2, and 3, you look at Run 8 across. It took them 10 years to get across 3 versions. And I'm telling you, version 1 had a lot going for it. It was revolutionary then. But the difference between version 1 and version 3, I mean, it's so visual. You get so much. When it went from version 1 to version 2 and first brought on AI, because there was no AI in version 1. We just ran trains, and we had, I was able to develop the RTS beta software at the time. And that whole purpose of that software was to integrate with Run 8 and be able to establish switch lists and operations within Run 8 Train Simulator. And it did a pretty good job. It was not pretty or anything like that. It wasn't user friendly, but I was able to have trains spawn in various areas. I haven't been able to do that since version 2. Version 2 things started getting shut down, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I'm getting back onto Run 8 again, and I don't want to do that. So the difference there is when you look at Train Sim World, it just doesn't. It doesn't. There's no difference between the versions. The physics never really changed that much. And no, I don't play it, but I've heard enough about it and I've seen enough and whatever. But yeah, they just keep on pumping out the content. They just pump out DLC like crazy, and people just keep on eating it. They eat it like candy. Great business model. They got the people. They can afford the people. They can afford the people, the graphic artists, all those other things. They have the game engines. They have everything else. But as far as features, they've taken away more features. As far as even the save game, I guess you can't even save the game right now because it's broken. Hot garbage. So the biggest. I mean, and it has so much potential because they actually do go into a lot of the features of the engines and the startup of the engines and all that other stuff. Even a little bit more than what Run 8 does, but it really doesn't have any physics behind it. So it's got all the little buttons and you crank up the engine and doing all this other, you prime it and all that other crap. Something that Run 8 doesn't have. It's kind of weird, but Run 8 don't need it anyways. It's got enough. But you go into, you have all that, but other than that, it's so much potential that is just wasted. And the biggest potential that I see is they have all these routes, and you can edit them. And yes, I know you can go in and you can bake the program and do all kinds of other things with it. With these, I looked into it. It can be a little bit risky because you're baking the program. It takes a little bit of knowing what the hell you're doing, and there's risk of doing it. It's still in its. Will it get better? Yeah. Could it do things? I honestly, I don't want to get on a topic about Train Sim World. And I know people will get onto a topic about Train Sim World. I don't even want to talk about Train Sim World. The bottom line is, their editors, they don't have any. They put it this way. And I know the reason why they don't have, and I'm not talking about root editors. I'm just talking about activity or scenario editors. The reason why they can even go, they got little paint changes that you can make and try to make it look like, you can change your liveries and do paint and all this other crap, but they don't even get it to the point where you can actually change the activities. And yeah, there is an activity changer where you can change the time of day and the weather or some stupid thing like that. I'm just like, okay, whoopee ding dong. But they don't have an ability to go in there and edit the scenarios. I mean, Microsoft Train Simulator had an activity editor. We're talking a long time ago, Microsoft Train Simulator, and we got open rails today. And I mean, you can't even give an activity editor, and I can tell you why. And they can say Unreal all they want. It has nothing to do with Unreal. That's all program logic based. That has nothing to do with the assets of the actual game engine itself. All those assets are programmable assets, which means whether it's a script, whether it's a intelligent AI, which they don't have. They have a script-based system. They do not have intelligent AI. So, that there's a reason why they don't do that. And the reason why they don't do that is there's a term called, I can't think of the term offhand. There's an industry term for it. And these guys are slick. The reason why they don't have those things in there, they want you to buy the next one. They don't want you to spend a long time enjoying a route. They don't even want you to see all those stupid tracks that they have, that half of them they don't even use in their first yard, in the Cumberland or whatever the hell it is, that they're in the original Train Sim World 2, I think. I don't know, 1, 2, whatever the hell it was. I think it's Cumberland, Maryland or something like that. They got this whole yard, and they got little activities that you can play around in the yard and go around in the turntable, and oh my god. And I'm thinking to myself, you got a yard that's totally operational, that has the potential to have all these great activities in it. And I'm not talking about something that's open-ended, which should the way it should be, like Run 8 does it. At least Run 8, allows you to, they put a yard in there, you can use that yard. I mean, Bakersfield didn't get a lot of use for the longest time. BNSF Bakersfield, it's a big yard that's barely used. I think even the one in Florida isn't used that much in Jacksonville, for example. But you can still use it. It's there. If you want to use it, you can use it. I mean, there's more than enough track to be able to do things, but nope, you can't do it. You can't touch it. And then I mean, there's a route that's more closer to me in Niagara, which is up in Hamilton, and they put not only can you, and I mean, you have these open-ended activities where you can play around with the switches. Oh yeah, they have the open-ended activities. I've totally forgot about those. Those are totally useless. Yeah, so yeah, you can move around the tracks and you can build a train and do something, but you can't. There's nothing you can do. You can't get past the signals. You can't walk yourself past the signals. You can't interact with industries and bring in more. It's just total garbage. And the one in Hamilton, for example, the Oakville sub, Hamilton Harbor, those tracks go up to the harbor, but there's an invisible wall that stops you, and you can break through that wall apparently if you run fast enough. Apparently, but it's just stupid. It's total waste. But thankfully I got that one for free, and I never went very much further. I never downloaded any download content for it. Bill, let's see here. Hello, I haven't played that game because their regular game is chock full of bugs, and they don't care when you tell them about it. Of course they don't care. They want you to buy the next one. They say they're going to fix stuff, and they keep pumping out more pretty routes, and bring out new engines and bring out new shiny toys, and yeah. And the thing is, most people take it hook, line, and sinker. I've seen reviews where they talk it being about the best train simulator out there, and I'm like, yeah, dream on. But some people think it is because it's the prettiest one. They think it's the hottest. They think it's, oh yeah, this is oh man. I remember seeing one guy on YouTube talking about, this is by far the best simulator out there that makes you really feel like you're an engineer. I thought to myself, you're a clown. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I mean, yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You know what they say about opinions, so that's my opinion versus theirs. But I know of a simulator that I just talked about that can kick the living crap out of it. Might not be as pretty, but it works. In fact, there's been simulators for 20 years that are better than that. But anyways, so Railroader's coming out. What we know about Railroader so far is it's got 13 miles. It's got there's not. I mean, there's a lot of things. I won't get into too much as far as Railroader comes. I think the size is a little bit too small. Some people have been mentioning that, but it's more for short line operations, anyways. I'd prefer to have something in the middle as far as sizes. But anyways, I won't say any more about Railroader. It looks good. It sounds like it's actually going to be able to allow you to play around with what it gives you, and they're not even talking about download content. So Railroader's a wait and see anyways. It's still in development, so but it's got a lot going for it. Some of the other older titles. I'll go with Trains because I do have some more recent experience with that. Trains 2019. I haven't gone beyond that. I have had some of the earlier versions. The big asset with Trains is editors, the root editors, to be able, and I mean, and it's not the only one that has it, but it also was until Run 8. As actually, I would say before version 3, it had a better AI dispatching system than Run 8. Well, Run 8 didn't have an AI dispatching system until version 3. You could do a lot more in Trains than you could in Run 8 version 2 as far as different dispatching. It would be able to find routes and be able to find paths and different things like that. Graphics wise, it's not as good as the pretty girl I was just talking about, but it is better than Run 8. Not a big deal. Physics, Run 8's got the best, which is why I call Run 8 the best train simulator. Railroad Simulator, that's a different story. So it has the editors. It doesn't really have. It does have multiplayer, although I hear it's not that good. Different things. I won't get too much more into that. The reason why I got into Train Sim World a little bit more, and specifically Run 8, is that's either the one that has the most potential or the most who have done a real good job and is what it is, and does good, because I don't want to spend too much time on all these other different programs. So Trains, it is what it is. You could do editors, but trying to get, it does have a save function, but it's the save function, you can save worlds and whatever, but then trying to get all the AI, a lot of it's more scripted. It's not really as dynamic. It does have a cool industry system or a loading or a supply system where you actually have different commodities going in. It's kind of neat. Microsoft's Train Simulator / Open Rails. Microsoft Train Simulator, about as old as Trains, and it had a unsupported editor, or unsupported editors, I should say. They had the activity editor and the root editor. So you're able to do quite a bit. Libraries similar to Trains, some of the best out there, user content. Open Rails has extended that the life of that legacy product and is trying to develop their own things. I won't get too much into Open Rails as far as what it can do because it's continually evolving, but it's still a long ways off from what Run 8 can do, as far as its capabilities, as far as running. And you notice I haven't said too much more about them because basically Run 8 is the closest that I've ever got. That's why I've used it the most. And then Trains comes a close, yeah, I shouldn't say even a close second. It's not even close. Railroads Online, you know, I had some fun. It was revolutionary at the time. I thought it was really neat. You can build your own routes and other. I wouldn't even want to get into it. Screenshot simulator. That's funny. Download station and the ease of access for custom content. The download station, one drawback with Trains is the various versions. You can get in a lot of backward compatibility issues, and I didn't run into that issue because I really didn't download that much other than some content, but yeah. An app description, screenshot simulator. I like the girl reference myself. That's probably the best one. Okay. Enough about these other versions. It's like 10:42 p.m. now. We've got an hour and a half. So, what does this all mean? I'm not even going to get into the programming tonight. I don't think I'm going to get into it. I'll show you briefly what I'm going to get into and what I'm working on right now. I haven't wrote any code yet. I have looked at different things. What am I trying to fill? And the bottom line, I can sum it up very simple. And that's AI switching. We've already seen AI dispatching in version 3. That was something I was going to bring to the table as well until Run 8 brought it. I have a different vision of the AI switching, or AI dispatching. But AI switch, it was like, well, what is AI switching and why is that so important, Sean? You may ask. Well, the thing about what Run 8's Run 8's business plan works real well is the ability to expand regions is a very good feature, and it's also a very popular feature. It's able to make smaller regions much bigger, and very similar to what can be done in, say, an American or European or American truck simulator, where you can expand on states. That I think is a really fair, good example of what you can do. So by downloading content, it allows Run 8 to produce more revenue, which is important. It's important for any simulator that you want to not only just make money. The way Train Sim World does it is they put out the garbage. They purposely don't give you the features to allow you to enjoy what you have to its full potential. They give you a bunch of canned activities. You run them. You can run them as many times as you want till you get bored to death, and all of a sudden the new toy comes out and it's just like, oh, they got this route now. Okay, let me buy this one. Yeah, I was gonna say download. You can't download diddly squat, except people who've played around with libraries or something. That's their quote unquote designer station or whatever the stupid thing's called. Don't even get me into that. I mean, like I said, hot garbage. I don't even want to think about that, and I'm trying to avoid the negativity. But so Run 8 doesn't have that. Will Run 8 eventually have that? Probably. And chances are the more I talk about it and the more I speak up about it, and I'm actually giving them ideas, because I know, from experience, there's people who watch who somehow it gets the Run 8's attention. A lot of times I get myself into trouble, apparently, not on purpose, but so maybe that's something that they're going to work on. I think, as far as Run 8, the big thing that I think that I look forward to as far as Run 8 is they are going to be working on content now. So they're going to be working on DLCs, which is good for them because they can expand on their revenue, which is always good. They need to get paid. They really do. They've put enough work into the game engines, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I want to see there's an update 5 coming out, so I have nothing but praise and respect for Run 8. I truly do. Just because I'm not using it right now, and just because I put it to the side, has nothing to do with the team. Doesn't have anything to do with the software. Works exactly the way it's supposed to work. I've had issues in the past with Run 8. I don't necessarily, as I've said, I don't necessarily like how they keep things kind of close to the hip, and they don't really let you know, like, okay, they don't. I don't know what it is, but that's how they do. That's how they do things, and it may not please everybody, but that's just the way it is. So, what's so important about the AI? Now, this is going to apply, as far as RTS, this will apply to both the 2D and 3D version. The good thing about that is, if I cannot establish a team who sees my vision, like I said, I'm looking for a programmer and I'm looking for a graphic artist. Once I have those 3 people, we find that there's a group of us that are good. I will do whatever it takes to get the paperwork, the legal documents, the agreements, and we will become owners of RTS. I am willing to share that. I'm willing to share that brand. I'm willing to split it 3 ways and say, let's go. And like-minded people. I've seen like-minded people recently. I've been very, I've been very encouraged by like-minded communities, like-minded people. And like I said, there's, to try to avoid potential issues, I've kept myself isolated from some of these communities that I was talking about, or doing whatever for various reasons, only because I don't want any question as to where this content is coming from. This is going to be our content. Are we going to have ideas from Run 8? You're damn right we are. Because there's a lot of things that Run 8 does right. Is RTS going to have better physics than Run 8? I highly doubt it. I don't think we're going to. Are we going to try? Damn right. So I have visions and I have dreams. But for me, beating myself up because I can't be enthused, or I can't learn or grasp all of those strings. I can't take all those. None of them in Run 8 have been able to do all 3 things. I don't think John works too much on the graphic side of things. Nigel, that's his name. I couldn't remember that. It just came to me. Nigel works on the graphics, and there's other specialists who are also involved in the Run 8 team. The Run 8 team is expanded. I don't know if it's volunteers or how their structure works or whatever, but all I know is they definitely have 3 owners. Jason has his own branch, but he's part of the Run 8 team, or at least the beta team. I don't know It's kind of, I don't know that arrangement, but I know he has his own company that works with Run 8, just based on his website and having HRS and being able to do through a third party content provider. They're the only partner that they have, as far as I know, that I'm aware of. And I haven't heard of any more, so what you guys know probably is about as much as I know, so I haven't looked into it, so. And like I said, the non-disclosure agreement don't mean shit. It don't mean nothing. I mean, that's ancient history. I know nothing. I'm not going to know anymore. We can talk about it all we want, but it does, and it's not. And the non-disclosure agreement's not going to stop me from developing my own train simulator too. It has nothing to do with it. I've never seen the code. I don't know what the code looks like. I don't know. There's nothing that I know that, other than what everybody else knows, that I can take into trying to take what Run 8 brings to the table and being able to, and even Railroader, they've admitted that they're Run 8 fans, and there is elements of Run 8 that's in there, but they're kind of blending the way Railroader's doing it is they're trying to blend the easiness or the fun aspect of trains, so that there's not too many steps, so it's not as prototypical physics-wise, but it has all the things into it. I forget how they word it. I respect what they're doing, and quite frankly, I think it's a good approach. It's an approach that I may take myself in our own fashion. But I'm not as, put it this way, as far as the physics or what goes involved, that's one thing that I'm going to be much more open to. And if I have a team, I will be much more open to. In other words, if somebody's more passionate about it, let them take the lead on it. I'll be like, go for it. Especially if you're going to, you're going to get a programmer who knows what he's capable of doing. And he can say, well, I can get the physics, or or the graphics person says, well, I can get these graphics effects, or I can get that. More power to you. I mean, I'm on board with whatever. I'm not worried that much about the quality when it comes to the graphics. I do want to take advantage of those game engines, so that's why I'm looking for those approaches. The good thing is, I'm not going to touch those game engines. So there's two branches. There's the 2D and the 3D. The 2D one is probably not going to touch those, is not going to get to a point where it touches any of those. And you likely will never see me bring RTS to a level of 3D on my own. It will remain a 2D simulator if I can't establish the business with at least a second person. I want a 3-man team. I want 3 people, very similar to Run 8, who are the owners. I want to establish that core. I want to establish it as soon as possible. Not like in a rush, but I mean as soon as possible before we start doing things. I don't want to, put it this way, I don't want to establish a 2-person core and we're waiting for that third piece of the puzzle and we can't quite get it. So, say we decide that amongst ourselves we could probably squeeze in that other part, but at least we're better off than being on our own type thing, if that makes sense. And honestly, a programmer and a graphics developer can probably do this, but they're gonna have less, because there's the data elements and the design and going through the business side of things, whether it be the marketing or, you know, trying to do the live streams, YouTube's, whatever. I mean, I can do much more professional videos. There's no problem there, and in that aspect, especially when we're talking about business and money. I mean, a live stream's easy for me to do because I don't have to do too much. I just have to hit the button and sit back and enjoy the conversation. You know, enjoy the chat and just go ahead and do what I do best. But I am capable of doing editing. I am capable of. I'm capable of putting together a decent, more professional quality video. That's something I think that's within my capabilities. I also have contacts in the music industry that would be able to probably help me with music and all kinds of other things. So I bring a lot to the table. Most important is I have the design. Not only do I have the design, but I have the logic that will make it work. I can tell you how to make these things work. I can tell you how to make AI switching work. I know how to. I've thought about it. I've thought about the logic. I'm a natural problem solver. I go through. I can go through spreadsheets, or it's not spreadsheets. Well, spreadsheets is another thing. I mean, spreadsheets is the one thing that I find is a tool that I will use quite a bit because I have a lot of expertise in using. Because the good thing about spreadsheets is it's not based on a language so much. It is, but I mean, there's a syntax. But once you get into the if loops and the various functions, once you learn those functions, all you're doing is applying it to cells, and then it just does the rest. And you're referencing cells all over the damn place. You can pretty much create a flow of a program within a spreadsheet. It doesn't take that much. You compartmentalize various functions or various tasks in certain sheets, and then you can link various sheets together. So what I've been able to do over the years, especially when we're talking about the whether it's a yard matrix for Run 8 or the RTS, the RTS system, or whatever you want to call it, I've been able to take the software for the RTS. More recently, as this summer, I was able to take the data that came out of the RTS Yardmaster software, which I recently, like I said, released this software. It's available on my Discord. Everything else, it's out there. It's in the Train Sim download section, so it's there. It's there for your taking. You guys can go to town on it, have fun. Curious about people that are interested in doing that. So basically, they work from Waycross, and they're able to run Waycross, and as trains are going through, they're going to get the full trains. I was able to manipulate that data and basically get a system that showed me exactly what was going on in Waycross. And it sucked because I was there. I mean, I got it to a point where it was very, very close, but it wasn't quite. It was just a little bit too much for what Waycross. Could I do it in a smaller region? Absolutely. Which is why I look for Run 8 to possibly bring that smaller region. Are they even developing it? I have no freaking clue. I don't know what they're developing. Like I said, you can say, oh yeah, non-disclosure. Non-disclosure means nothing. I don't know what's going on. I haven't got a clue. I know some things Whoopi do. Don't mean anything. But or at least it doesn't mean anything to what I'm looking for specifically. So yeah, I guess I did. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I guess I do know certain things more recently, but it has no impact on and the less I do know, the better, to be quite honest. because, like I said, I don't want any conflicts of interest, especially if I'm developing a simulator. I would rather not know anything else. I want to basically focus on RTS. I want to be able to focus on what we can bring to the table, and basically focus on what I can bring to the table. And I'm going to show you guys what I have been doing, or what I've been seeing. So originally when I went through this, and I'll go into oh god, what is it called? Yeah, OpenStreetMaps. Let me go through here. I think that's that. Okay. So when I was going through I haven't got to, let me before I do that, I need to run another aspect, and this is going to be a this is again about the as far as RTS goes. Oh, there we go. See, so remember, it's where I am. I'm right at Port Robinson, and so if I'm exporting, where's the manual? Manually selecting a different area. Okay. Oh, okay, that's Canby Street there. We'll go that way. We'll go that. So if I'm to export that, does it allow me to export while I'm on this? It may or may not. Can I export? There we go. So I've already got one in here already, but if I was to whatever the hell it is, it doesn't matter. I'll do that one, or I could do this one, or whatever. So which one's smaller? Oh yeah, this one's much smaller. So we'll go with that one. Oh shoot! Was I in the transport layer? I think I was. That one looks a lot bigger. So it's probably, I went a little bit wider than the other one, but let's say we go open. I'll get to what I was thinking in a minute. I won't lose that. Okay. I don't want JOSM. When the hell did I blink that? Stop that freaking update. Get out of there. When the hell did I link that to JOSM? Oh, God. That's not what I wanted. This is overkill. I mean, that's cute and all. So I installed JOSM and then all of a sudden it put it in there. But me, that's neat and all, but that's overkill. I don't need that. I was wondering what the hell it was doing. Get out of there. I was like, what the hell? Ah, great. So these are all associated with. Oh no, I don't want it associated with that. Okay, well, there's an easy way of doing it. So let's take. I don't know. Do I want to take that one? Yeah. Okay. Copy that. I'm going to rename this. to map.txt. Oh, you're calling it a... Jeez. Well, I just... yeah, now... Okay, there's open with. Could I have done that before with the other one? Maybe I could have. Let's see if that works that way. Oh, open with. Okay. Java OpenStream. Oh, okay, that's... No, I don't like that. Notepad. Let's go into Notepad. There we go. Okay. So, the transport layer is not as complex as the other layers, which is good, because we don't want that. Let me start up at the top here, and I'll start doing a search. So when I look for rail, you've got railway, which is a key here, but that's not what the one I'm looking for. Those are indexing various services. That's not what I'm looking for. At least I don't think it is. So that's like a service track or whatever. Really? I see the time set, the change set, change stamp. What the hell? Okay, well that's what I'm looking at, but that's... So this one has the various longitude, latitudes, which are important for me. I need to extract those data, so in order to do that... Now this is all part of the 2D, but it could eventually be like usernames. I don't care about the various user IDs. Okay, so these are the railway switches. Okay, there we go. So that's the end of a node. So node ID. I saw the switch in there, but so there's a switch at so and so. Let's look for Stanford. Okay, so that's the Stanford subdivision. Can't find any more, huh? Canal Parkway Trail. I was having an easier time looking through this the other day. So you got the various highways. The one that was the most interesting was what I was just looking at. And that was the longitude, latitude data. There we go. So they're putting in points of the various... Because I got to go into so the user ID, latitude, longitude. So the ones that I'm looking for are the latitude and longitudes. Node IDs syncs in with a node describing a little bit more about it. I think that's how it works. Visible, true. So these are all the points. And it's not just rail tracks, that's the thing. So you got level crossings there. The railway switches. Yeah, so they link to the node, the various node IDs. So once you have the ID, then you can search on the ID and copy and paste what you want out of it, I guess, or cut and paste. So you can parse the data, or you can do a little bit. You can basically do a little bit of creative editing. I think it's easier to do the creative editing. The more I look at this, it's probably much easier to do the creative editing, or possibly getting into spreadsheet, or copying various data, getting into spreadsheet data, and then going from there. Like timestamps, I don't care about change steps. I don't care about versions. Node ID's important. The user ID, I can, I can totally forget about that. I can get a user ID, a node ID table, and find out the various points. So, for example, if I was to go into the map here, and I deal with, say, this one. Nope, I gotta go to this here. So I go to let's go to one of these inner tracks here. Actually, let me go to the Stanford sub. This is probably one of the better ones. So it shows you the various. So there's a rail CN Stanford sub, but you see there's the nearby ones. So the CN Stanford sub, which the main line's actually that one, but for some reason it goes on that one, so whatever, doesn't matter. Relation CN. But we'll go with rail CN Stanford sub. And if I click on that, this doesn't do what I wanted. Okay, let me go back to that. What the hell happened there? That's interesting. Alright, let me just click on it one more time. I'll go with this rail. I can go to the relation, but no, let me go to the relation for a second. No, that's not going to do it. Rail CN subdivision. Oh, that's all that's... Okay, well, that's all that's in that section. I've seen it where it's done the whole thing. Relation, CN, one relation. Okay, so there's 36 nodes. If I go into that one, that's what I wanted. Okay. I don't know when all these X's started showing up. I don't remember seeing them before, but whatever. So it shows you the root. It shows you it has 41 members. So when you look at the 41 members, it shows you all the various ways, or yeah, they're all ways. So now I can look at that data and say, okay, well, yeah, this is all part of that. Or if I was to look at the file and search on Stanford subdivision, I would have a list of all those nodes, and it would tell me. So it's not that hard to extract data rather quickly. I don't think I have to go to a parser. Now, and this is just something I've kind of realized tonight. Now, the more I look at it, it's just like, do I really need a parser, or do I just need creative editing? And creative editing is probably much better. So anyways, that is what I've been doing. I've been playing around with that a little bit this week, and being able to get the data that I need to, like, from there I have to take the latitude and longitude and convert it over to actual feed. There's conversion involved because of the rotation, or not the rotation of the way the Earth is shaped, basically. it's not a total globe or whatever, but whatever. And to be able to have it so that it can display on a 3D world, to be able to display on only 3 planes, and being one of them being, X, Y, Z being altitude or whatever the heck they use. Some ones use, they change. I always like X, Y as latitude, longitude, and then Z as altitude. The 3D packages change it a little bit depending upon which package you use. So whatever way you do it, it's fine. But no matter what happens, I'll have that. Now, you'll notice I'm starting with my home area. So one thing I haven't got to, and this is probably a biggie, and it's potentially going to drive away potential customers too, from a business aspect. So that's something that we'll discuss more. There's a reason why I want to do it this way, and that is, I plan on starting, as far as a 3D, or actually 2D for 3D doesn't matter. Everything is starting in Niagara, everything, because I have the data. I can go in. I have the drone. I'm able to get as much operations data as possible. I know more about this area than any other area in North America. I can research it. I can find out, I can look at the operations, and I'm able to determine how I want the whole operations to work, or structure it so that I can test these things out and test all these ideas when it comes to AI switching, when it comes to AI dispatching. I still have to get my own version of AI dispatching to work in code, as well as AI switching. I know how I want it done. Have I ever been able to code AI dispatching? No. That's basically because I've never attempted it. But for years, I was ready to do it. And I was ready to go so far as to do it into TD3, try to somehow get it to work with Run 8. Thankfully, I didn't make that effort, because Run 8 ended up doing it on its own. So it wasn't necessary. And all that, worry about doing something like that, it was good that I didn't go into that. As far as, I can't control what other people do. I can't control what other software companies do, what they release, what they're going to bring to the table. The only person I can control is me. And like I said before, I know my strengths and weaknesses. So I know what I bring to the table. I know what I'm having a hard time bringing to the table because of procrastination, because of, difficulty learning new concepts. I can learn a lot of concepts, but there's certain things I just can't do. And being able to see what's coming in, as far as what I'm able to do, like just going into there and say, well, okay, I don't need to do that. See, I'm already thinking, okay, I don't need the parser. I can edit this. I can go through every line, and then I can start structuring. By this week, I already have now a game plan as far as what I'm going to do for the 2D stuff this week. I have the latest version of Just Basic. I'm going to start looking at converting the... I'm not going to go so far. I looked at QGIS this week, the one that popped up there. Actually, no, that was JSON, I think. I don't think that was that JSON or QGIS? I don't know what the hell just popped up, but I was surprised to see it. But I want to be able to avoid all those extra pieces of software that's not necessary. I want to extract that data, and it doesn't take much. Especially when you're talking about just the railroad lines. So I want to get the data in there that's already out there. It's easy for me to just extract that data. It is, commercially speaking, I can use that data. I can reference where I got that data from. And from there, I'm able to basically develop a train simulator based on that data. It's just data. Eventually, I have to put the whatever assets or whatever, whether it be 2D or 3D, I have to put those assets in play. They're just numbers. They're just plots on a map or whatever. So, like I said, I can only control what I can do. What I know I can do is I feel I'm capable and competent enough to write code in 2D. That includes a 2D map version of RTS. So, yeah, ideally I want to do 3D. If, that's a dream of mine. I think about it all the time. Like I said earlier. But if I can't get that, and I can't, even Emmett was saying today, said you're just gonna have to build a 2D version first before you get enough people that get on the bandwagon who are going to even consider it. And I'm like, well, that's fine. I think there's developers out there that might share the same vision. I think there's graphic artists out there that might share the same vision without that. Why would I want to waste my time on 2D if we can start out and get to know each other and talk about what we want? It's not just about what I want, because I'm basically looking to split the RTS into three entities, three people who all have their own strengths, weaknesses, and they have their own desires. It's not just about what I want at that point. Do I want it to share a vision with overall vision of what I want? And absolutely. But how we get there, especially based on their strengths and what is capable and what is possibly not, that's going to be something that everybody brings to the table. And as far as the regions go, and I was going to allude to this, I'm starting in Niagara because I know it. The idea for 2D is to continue to expand. First of all, the 2D, I don't even know if I'm going to be charging a cent, quite frankly. I probably will release this for free, maybe with a shareware or something like that. I don't even know how the hell I'm going to do it. I'm not worried about a timeline. I'm not worried about when I'm going to do it. I don't care about failing. I don't care about succeeding. I don't care about any of that. I'll do it at my timeline when I'm ready. If I want to get back into Run 8 again because Run 8's got something, or I thought about something else in Run 8, then I do it. But I put it out there that I want the 3D. I'm willing and ready to take my RTS vision and share it with two others, and build it, and being able to use their strengths, we combine with those three strengths, and we're able to utilize our strengths and bring that to the table. I think we have a good shot at really bringing something unique to the train simulator world. Not train sim world, but the train simulator community, or the train simulator realm, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I think there's an opening. And I think that opening is having it, having it realistic, having it represent an actual system of railroad transportation, which is why I've always called a railroad transportation simulator. I've always wanted to simulate, not so much the train simulator, and that's important too, but I've wanted the focus on the railroad. I want the focus on the operations. I want the focus on how the overall system works, so that when you get into it and you plug into it, you can either do it a little at a time, or it can run by itself, or even that, or even another thing that I want it to be able to do is fast forward. So if you want to fast forward to a certain point in time, of course this wouldn't be with multiplayer unless you have to fast forward first and then host a server. So it wouldn't be a 24/7 thing if you're constantly fast forwarding the clock. Actually, that doesn't make any sense with a 24/7. With a 24/7, you can run the whole thing. If you want to do a 24/7 server, then you just run it, and it runs in real time, and it'll have its lulls and everything. So we start in Niagara. The first region would represent, and this is for both, the first region would represent all the trackage as far east as the border with the United States. I would not go any further. All spawn points would be at or just on the other side of the border. So to include the entire international bridge, which, I know what that looks like. I know what it's not interacting with anything on the American side, and everything from there. So in Niagara, the United States is to the east, just the way the border works there. To the west is Canada, and it's between Lake Ontario, Lake Erie. From there, I would have the regional municipality of Niagara, which would include everything but not the full region. It would only include the switching districts out of Port Robinson, Ontario for CN, and Welland, Ontario for CP. It would also include the entire Trillium Railroad. So basically, not the full Grimsby sub, but most of it. It would include the entire Stamford subdivision, it would include most of the Hamilton subdivision for CP, and it would include all branches within Niagara for CP and CN. It would include the entire Port Colborne Harbor Trillium Railway, which is a short line that runs along the Welland Ship Canal between St. Catharines to Port Colborne, Ontario. I don't know why I keep saying Ontario. It is Ontario, but anyways. So that would be the first region. That would be enough to keep a single player busy, or a small group who wants to fast forward time and simulate some of the operations. It wouldn't be a major, massive multiplayer type environment, though it can be, and it would have the makings of starting to do it by starting that region first. We would be able to hone the simulator, get all the aspects of the simulator in first, whether it's myself 2D or a 3D version like I talk about, which I would love to do. That's my dream. The 2D version is not my dream. The 2D version is just something I can do to keep the dream alive, basically, and to be able to work out some of the ideas I have and actually physically get it to working, instead of pipe dreaming about something that I can't do or that I'm never going to get around to doing because I procrastinate, because I just can't get, these things, these concepts in, or learn these new languages or whatever the heck it is. I've done enough of that. I want people who have the expertise to join me. I'm not looking to hire people. This is an ownership thing. This is an ownership, a partnership right from the beginning. We split it, 3 ways all the way. No tiers, no nothing. We bring what we bring. We decide whether or not, before we start the partnership, what we bring to the table, and if it's worthy of it. I have the vision, I have the designs, I have everything that I can bring, to the table, and the work ethic that once we get it there, I'm with it. Because once I have the support, then I know that once I have the support and I know what my capabilities are, I can work within those capabilities, no problem. And seeing others be able to work within their capabilities, you merge that all in, and it's great. No matter whether it's 2D or 3D, though, everything would expand. I'll use 3D as an example, just for a business model purposes. But 2D would work the same way. In fact, 2D would not work so compartmentalized, I don't think. I think 2D would expand gradually over time and become part of one big, huge map. But, that remains to be seen. There's a lot of aspects that I still have to work out well within my capabilities, I think. The only challenge that I'm going to really have, I believe, is plotting the 2D data, which is going to be very early on, but it'll be a challenge, but I'll overcome it. I have no doubt, and even if I don't, I'm going to have the best I can possibly do within my capabilities to make it look and feel as authentic as possible within a 2D. And I may or may not use a game engine, whatever. So, you have that region. We work on the program, we enhance the program, add features, whatever we need to do, fix whatever bugs. Then we start, if at the same time, hopefully, we're able to develop and expand into our DLC. That probably has a lot to do. I would probably be more of a testing role at that time, business role, customer service, you name it. That would probably fall on my shoulders. I'd handle that. What I would do in that aspect is plan ahead and do the research and get all the data necessary, because I'm familiar with this area. We're not going to have multiple regions, unlike a Run 8. I plan on, for at least the very initial, if not for the very initial stages, probably for the foreseeable future of Run 8, did I say? Sorry. Bad example. Every now and then I'm going to say Run 8 because I've got so much, and that's just the way my brain is. RTS. And if I've said that a few times, I apologize. It's RTS, nothing to do with Run 8. For the future of RTS, to be able to expand outward, which would be westward. The next region would be the Western Golden Horseshoe, which would include the city of Hamilton. Basically, it would include a lot of what the TSW version of Hamilton contains, except it would be a little bit bigger, I believe, because it would have the Grimsby sub, it would have the Oakville Yard, Aldershot Yard, as well as the CP line up to Guelph Junction, I'm not too sure how far out, because this again is all based on switching districts. Everything's based on switching districts. Whatever the switching district can have, it's not going to be based on subdivisions. It's going to be based on switching districts. There's a big difference. A switching district has to do with a switching district has to do with what an operations center is doing. Whereas subdivisions really has no bearing on a switching district. You can have a switching district come from one side of a subdivision and a switching district come from another side of the switching districts is all about the yard, the home yard, and that becomes part of the system. Whether trains go between one switching district to another is fine. If the switching district doesn't exist, of course, then it would play into spawn points. But DLC would basically expand. I think the best example I can go right back to is American Truck Simulator. Started all in California. Right now they are across. I don't know how many states they have. I have them all. My son plays that still. I don't really play it. I lately my thing has been Medieval Dynasty. That's been my go-to escape, and I only do that when he's around. So I play that, and he plays American Truck Simulator. So we switch back and forth, and so I get to enjoy that. But when it's just myself, that changes. All of a sudden, with the exception of a Saturday night, which I try to go over what I'm doing and what I'm up to. Hopefully by next Saturday I'll have some stuff to show you. But that's how, as far as the states go, like how these states are coming out, it's not going to be subdivision by subdivision by subdivision, but all these DLCs are going to expand out from Niagara into a bigger region. Eventually, I think I'm going to come to a wall. What I mean by that is not a physical wall. Would I love to have all of Canada? Absolutely. Would I ever get that far? I don't know. I would sure love to try. But when I say eventually I'm going to come to a wall, it's more of a limitation of the it's going to become a processing wall. How I get around that would probably have to do with multiple servers, but ideally I wouldn't want to go through multiple servers at first. I would want everything to be able to run on one system, which is well within its capabilities. I think Run 8 had that. I think Run 8 had an issue. The more humps you had going, it took up a lot of resources, for example, in version 2. So that's another example I can throw at you. So with RTS, we start in Niagara. We work our way through Canada. I don't go into the United States. There's a reason why I don't go into the United States, at least not in the foreseeable future. The reason why I don't go into the United States is I'm starting to get involved in another railroad. I do not have the current ability to cross the border. That will change soon. Once the United States decides to drop its COVID-19 measures, I will then be able to cross. I can probably cross now anyways, but by rights I'm not supposed to. They are not checking people at the border, apparently, from what I'm told. But I'm not, by rights or by the rule, am I supposed to be able to enter the United States at this point. Haven't been there for a couple of years. And I don't do it with my work. So, but the other thing with the United States is the drone license. I am not a licensed drone pilot. So It's a little bit different in the United States anyways, but the drone's important because the drone gives me the the perspective that Google Earth does not. It allows me to get into various areas and get as much of a view of different buildings, and this is what I bring to the table as well. I'm able, as a drone pilot, be able to get in there and get perspectives of buildings you're not going to see. You might be able to see in street view if a building's close enough, but a lot of times these railroads are not. I was up in Sudbury earlier this year, and I was able to go a mile in, and there's no way you can get in there other than flying in, or you have to be on the property. So you fly in, you get perspectives of the buildings. The only when you're in Google Earth and you're looking down above, I mean, you're not seeing any details. Here you're getting all the details. I can take as many pictures as I want and be able to use that perspective with the measurements from the various map stuff, like I can use the open maps, open street maps, and I could get everything works great for 2D, but you can go beyond that and go into different filters, and you can get the various buildings and the dimensions. You can make shape files out of them. You can do all kinds of things with that. So it's a very powerful resource. It's very straightforward to get it into a 3D game engine. So that's and plus they have XML parsers as well. The only reason why I'm not going that route is because right now I'm not having any plans personally for myself or for the 2D version to go into any game engine. I'm only working on the data. But anyways, going back to Canada, I continue to work my way out. So Hamilton would be the next DLC. From there, I'm able to branch in. I'm able to branch in two directions. So first of all, that Hamilton area, or that Western Lake Ontario or whatever, it would stretch the Oakville sub almost as far as Toronto. Very close. It would go past Oakville, I think. Yes, it would. It would include Oakville Yard. I would include Oakville Yard and Aldershot, because Oakville and Aldershot, you can do Aldershot, but it wouldn't be much of a region if I just did Aldershot, Hamilton. I think it's only fitting to do more than that, because Aldershot is more about a mainline. It's a Halton Dundas sub, or what was the Niagara Corridor that they called in MSTS or whatever. That's all about various regions coming in, and they all at Aldershot. It's kind of like the funnel in Florida. It all basically comes into this one area. So Aldershot is basically an interchange yard. It does. It also acts as a switching district as well, but it's a very small switching district. In retrospect, although I mean, and there's a lot of yards. There's a Hamilton Yard that's nearby. That deals a lot with the harbor, as well as some of the industries on the western side of the Grimsby sub. And it also deals with, well, that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else at Hamilton. No, it wouldn't. CP has Kinnear, which is more of a crew change point, although they do run locals out of there. It's, they have a little bit of an impact in not as much as CN does, but CP does have access to Hamilton Belt, which is basically the area. CN and CP both have rights into Hamilton Harbor. CN has the majority of them, but CP does have access to various points in there, and that operates out of Kinnear as well as I can't think of the name of the yard. There's another yard. There's another very small yard. It's more of a storage yard because it's on a dead end track. It's really weird, but anyways, I can't think of the name, and it's getting late, so my brain's not working right. So I would go as far west, possibly just before Brantford. I don't think I would include Brantford. Not in that one. Probably not. So I would say I would include a good portion of the start of the Dundas sub, probably maybe probably past Copetown. Give it a little bit of a run. It's not important, eventually it works as far as the big picture, but I would push my way out from Bayview Junction on the Dundas sub heading west. The other way, CP would only go north at that point. So that would be heading towards Guelph Junction. And then, I don't know if it would include Guelph Junction or not. It depends on the switching district up that way. I'd have to do a little bit more research on Guelph Junction itself. But probably include Guelph Junction, I would think. Who knows? Might include a big part of the Galt sub as well, which is the other line that's up that way. And then, like I said, the Oakville sub would almost go all the way to Toronto. It would include Aldershot Yard. It would include Hamilton Yard, which is where the Grimsby sub joins in. It would also include Oakville Yard. I think it would go as at least possibly as far as Mimico, maybe just short of Mimico. And then CP, like I already said what CP, well, that's pretty much it. So that would be the one way. From there, the next DLCs. Oh yeah, and here's another thing too. What I'm planning, at least the way I see it. I wouldn't be selling individual content as far as so for example, the first, similar to Run 8, for example, and I'll use that as an example. I would have the various assets. So you would have all the engines from Niagara. So we're talking CN, CP, Port Copen Harbor, all the various engine types that go through the area. I don't think I would get into, the special units, although I suppose I could. I mean, they're just liveries at that point, so it really doesn't matter. Could put those as bonus features or whatever. They would all be free upgrades. I wouldn't. I don't think we would charge for something like that. Not a livery. But so I'd have that. But every time things update, like if you had a DLC, so you get the Hamilton DLC. Oh, sorry. The other thing would include Amtrak and Go Transit. So you'd have the Go commuter service, and you would have Amtrak, because the Maple Leaf goes through Niagara. Once you get up to Hamilton, you would have more download content. That would include car types that were specific to that area, as far as switching, or stuff that wasn't included in the original content. So different car types that weren't included in the original sim, and that would allow you to have access to those, including one of the bigger features I think is the Via Rail package. So you would have Via Rail passenger trains. So you'd have plenty of content. You have There's a slug that works in Hamilton, so I don't see those in Niagara. So probably include the slug unit and the automated unit, or the one that has the flashing red lights on it. So the radio unit, I guess you call it. So that would be included. So you see, I'm thinking about this. Like I have put a lot of thought into this. This isn't something that this is I'm very passionate about. And to those who share my vision, then that's great. I think that's where I'm looking at right now. It's like, okay, this is where it could really, this is my vision. So you go west. There's two ways you go from here. Once you get that download content, and you've got Niagara, you've got Hamilton. Of course, a lot of people are going to want the next one, and this would be a big one, and that would be Toronto. Toronto would include two hump yards, or sorry, two intermodal terminals, a hump yard, a big yard as well for CP. It would include Union Station. It would include all the lines in Metropolitan Toronto. My son and I were talking about it. I says, "Are you going to include the TTC?" I'm like, "I don't know about that. I suppose I could. The TTC is like the subway system there, but I don't think I'd go that far." But yeah, that would be the big one. Of course, that would introduce the humps. The other things you would start to see, as far as down, I mean, there would be all kinds of different. By then, we would have all kinds of different designs, cars, whatever. Do different research. We'd see different types. Bring in a few more liveries for free, like with the update or whatever. I don't know. But you would also get the Canadian, Via Rail Canadian. So you get the Via Rail Canadian. You would get the Union Pearson Express. I don't know about TTC. That's a hard one. I think TTC would act basically as a kind of like a car spawner type thing. I don't think I would want to include all that. But that's the way you go that way. And then from there, the other way you go is you go west. So you'd include London, Paris, Brantford, and then it goes on and on. Like I said, eventually you get to a wall, because on one system you are dealing with, not only are you dealing with, now you're dealing with a hump controller, you're dealing with all the AI decisions as far as dispatching. You're also dealing with all the AI as far as the AI switching goes. So the bigger you make the network, the more trains you've got out there, which means the more resources you're taking. That's where the multiplayer. Well, multiplayer. I don't know if it's going to be available right away, but it's something that I would certainly want to have. I think it's important. But I would also look at somehow, if you get too far beyond that, then you're looking at having the multiplayer act as its own servers that form a network. So unlike what you have with Run 8, where you have your servers, this would actually have the servers do. And I mean, it's not necessary, because in Run 8, everything is basically contained in a region, for example. So for RTS, because these regions would start getting so huge, and there would be all this AI switching going on, and stuff operating, and new trains spawning, and all the AI dispatching. Even fast forwarding time would become more of an issue. So there's a lot of challenges there. But at this point, honestly, you once you've got Toronto, and once you've got London, you name it, Hamilton, that whole area. Once you get into that, once you get beyond that, then you start getting outside of the major metropolitan areas. Well, sort of. If you go east, you're still, you're not really into metropolitan areas, but you are, in theory, you're still in civilization, I guess you would call it. But you're heading towards Montreal, Ottawa areas. It's a little bit more rural. It's kind of like west of the Hamilton region. Hamilton's Oakville. That's a very populated region. But when you go north, by the time you go north, it shouldn't be much of a resource hog. So if we can get by that one issue, which would be that wall, like how much can we push all that AI in there? By the time you go further north, you're really able to go a long ways. And yes, there's switching up there too, but there's not as much industry. It's more spread out. It's mainly more mainline runs, and so you're dealing with AI dispatching. But AI dispatching, you look at what Run 8 can do right now. It can dispatch, and we're talking. I don't know how many miles we're talking here between Seligman and all the way up to. We're talking a lot, probably a lot more than what we're talking about with the Southern Ontario. So you get into Central Ontario, you get into even further, you get into Northern Ontario, and this is why I'm not including the United States, because I don't want to complicate things further. I want to keep it so that a train that runs out of Mac Yard can run up to its next crew change point, which would be Capriel to the north. It would be Belleville to the east, and to the west, I am not sure. Maybe London. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, I think they go further than Sarnia. I don't even know if there is a crew change point after that, to be quite honest. So, we're talking. You're talking two major railroads, although CP is not as active. Not to mention any short lines and all that other stuff. So you're talking about, and there's quite a few short lines too that come into play when you get further west, even some parts of around Toronto. Not so much east or north, but there's a lot there anyways. So, and then once you reach that wall, then you talk about possibly bringing in other regions. But I would want to get that established as quick as possible. Having the biggest region that you can run as a single player is the ultimate goal. So to be able to, basically, if you want to run your computer 24/7, you wake up the next morning and your railroad's still running. Everything's going. Hopefully nothing's crashing. That's going to be obviously a challenge as well, to make sure that it's able to figure things out. Is it going to be as efficient as a human? No. But to be able to solve its problems and continue to operate the railroad as fluidly as possible and as efficiently as possible without crashing, or coming to a point where, you know, you get standoffs and all that other stuff. So anyways, guys, whew, that's exhausting. Hope you enjoyed all that. That was like, wow, 2 hours and 49 minutes. A lot longer than I thought it was going to take, but didn't get into the programming side of things, so that's okay. But I will. Actually, I don't need to get into the programming just yet. I got to get the files prepared this week, so get into the data, start combing through the data, and then hopefully start getting in my first code quickly after that. Could be this week, probably midweek, if things go as good as I'm hoping. So, but again, there's no time, there's no schedule for me on this. I'm hoping this gets people interested. There's not too much conversation in the chat right now, but hopefully it catches somebody's eye. If it doesn't, then I'm just gonna have to. I'm on my own, and I'm gonna have to do whatever I can do to my capabilities, which is probably gonna be 2D, and you know, I'm stuck with it. So, anyways, guys, that's about it for tonight. It's 12:02. I'm gonna end it for tonight, and give my voice a break. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.